Hello and welcome. I am so excited for you guys to jump onto this call. Today is all about subconscious story selling and how to get people to say yes to your offers and be so freaking excited about what you have to offer the world in a way that speaks to their soul, in a way that feels in integrity, and most of all, in a way that accelerates the option for them to go all in on working with you. My name is Melissa, and I have been a business coach for the past 5 years. I have, through a lot of trial and error, figured out a recipe for success. And specifically, let me just go up here to share this tab instead. Okay. Beautiful. Okay, so hopefully everyone can see that. Wonderful. Okay. So this is through a lot of hard work and trial and error. I have found the secret recipe that allows you to get people so excited about your next masterclass, your launch, your offers, or whatever it is that you're selling. Because the reality is, no matter what we're doing, we are selling ourselves. When you're applying for a job, you are selling yourself, right? When you are trying to get a raise, you're selling yourself. You're selling the excitement behind an idea, and you're transferring the enthusiasm. And when done in an appropriate way and from heart, from soul, and in integrity, it actually allows people to magnetically come to you rather than you feeling like you need to chase and convince and persuade people to hear you out. So we have been taught a lot of false truths about selling, right? And if you're anything like myself, you may or may not cringe at the idea of selling because it sounds salesy. I'm sure some of you guys have also had some sort of sales trauma, right? Being burned by the used car salesman, being, targeted maybe by a coach who was just after a quick money grab, who didn't actually have your best interests at heart, or by other people that either reached out before you were even warmed up or actually interested, right? And we're going to break it down to a very simple science on how to use this framework. So whether you are a speaker or not, this can be applied to anything from face-to-face conversations, right? Clarity calls. This can be applied to what's called the perfect webinar script. And a lot of this is actually through investing in people like Alex Hormozi, Russell Brunson, and other thought leaders, and learning their frameworks, but putting sort of a spiritual, conscious, heart-led tweak on it. This is like the own secret sauce for people who are not in this sort of like masculine, fast-paced, right, bulldozing your boundaries down approach. So the old way, we've talked about persuasion, convincing, feeling like you have to, handle their objections and convince them and turn their no's into yeses and to bulldoze their boundaries, which personally just gives me the ick. We also have these old, outdated ways of teaching sales through scripts, right? Have you ever had somebody like cold call you and they're like, hello, my name is Robert, and I am calling from Bell to see if you are interested in any like snooze alert, right? You just know that it doesn't feel human. It feels robotic. And it also doesn't actually get you excited. It feels like you want to run away rather than have your ears perk up or learn something new. So what's out is the old way of selling. What is new is your story, your truth, your transformational experience, and also your medicine of being alive, right? Many of you guys have had incredible experiences on earth, overcome spectacular things. And if you are a heart-led leader, of course, you are weaving some of these traumas, these challenges, these pain points and obstacles that you've personally encountered into your medicine, your magic, and what you're here to offer the world, right? So the new way of selling is through frequency, it's through resonance, it's through activating something dormant inside the ideal clients, where you're actually refracting a whole piece, like a whole and healed piece of your consciousness, refracting it back so that they can see their potential and see a part of themselves in you on the other side, now that you've kind of gone through your own hero's journey. And this is where the magic happens, because there is no pitch required. There is no, persuasion required. For sure, there's a strategy, but it's actually really fun because it allows you to just speak your truth and to call BS out on outdated systems, government structures, businesses that are crashing and burning as we speak. And it also allows you, and this is the very best part, which I'll teach towards the end of the call, so make sure you stay tuned, is to identify any potential objections. And instead of being that awkward closer on a sales call to like overcome their objections and overcome their barriers, you actually weave it into your story so that it dissolves the objections ahead of time, because it gives them the answer to see how that might be a pitfall, that might be a limiting belief, right? And through storytelling, it actually weaves it into a full yes alignment for the right people who are naturally drawn to you, and then makes your clarity calls, your discovery calls, or your sales conversations so much easier, because they've already had the objections dismantled. They've already had that resistance collapsed, and they've already gone through sort of an enlightenment or an epiphany, which you'll teach inside this, which accelerates the path to actually trust you and to maybe take a leap of faith and to outcreate themselves, or to step into a new timeline, a quantum leap, or a new opportunity. Okay. So this is for anybody who is tired of pushy sales tactics, outdated sales calls, people who are service providers, coaches, healers, practitioners. This also speaks to people like Connie on the call, creatives, right? Connie is writing a feature film, and she is going to be tasked with the ability to go to different producers, right, or filmmaking agencies and find the right people to bring it to life, right? This is specifically made in a trauma-informed way for people who have been burned by sales, people who have experienced sales trauma, or people who are genuinely empathetic, right? Filled with soul, filled with love and genuine desire to do a lot of good for their clients, and not just close the sale, but to actually help people make really informed and really empowered buying decisions. I use this framework, and this has been the fastest way for me to quantum leap my income. Some of you may or may not know, but for those just jumping on, earlier in 2025, I had this huge awakening on my desire to hold a bigger piece of the puzzle and to hold a bigger vision for my mission, who I came here to serve. And what happened was I was going from one-off healing sessions, which, gave my clients great results. But what I noticed was there was no consistent income to actually afford the things that I wanted to treat my family to. And there was no ability to bring clients through a regular transformational journey, a very intentional container, because I knew the potential that I saw in them, but they were almost using these healing sessions as a band-aid, right? So every time their arm broke, they'd come back and we'd fix it up and repair it, and they'd go on, they'd be good. And then life would get stressful, right? Or they'd go back into their old patterns, and then they'd come back when they need a new band-aid. And I just felt like it wasn't even fair to take their money at some point, because I knew we had to go deeper. And in order to do deeper, they needed to show up more regularly. They also needed a higher level of energetic and financial investment. And to hold that level of transformation and to bring them through an accelerated timeline and process, this required me to double down on all my healing modalities, to bring the big guns, right? And to really mastermind and fine tune my own craft by raising my prices. So I went through this process of choosing to let go of my one-off healing sessions. I got rid of the calendar. I sent everyone an email. I said, sayonara, I'm only available for big transformational experiences. Here's where I'm going, who's coming with me, sort of thing. And I started tinkering with different packages and tiers. And I remember it was so clearly, I had actually a friend of mine, Miro, who looked over my first group offer. And I was putting together this amazing clearing program. And he looked at this, he said, Melissa, this is so freaking good. You need to 10x your prices. And I remember my nervous system just freaking shattered. I remember sitting there being like, what, 10x? That's insane. I thought this was already a boost. And it wasn't until a couple people that were a few steps ahead of me had agreed that I was like, okay, well, let me just 0 point, burn everything down about who I'm here to serve, who I thought my niche was, what kind of things I'm here to offer. And if I was willing to challenge myself, I didn't actually end up doing a full 10x. I found my own secret sauce, which we'll talk about on day 3, and how to fine tune your pricing and which one actually gives your clients the best possible outcome, but also feels good for your nervous system so you can hold it and you feel in integrity. So long story short, I ended up going through and clearing, transmuting everything I thought to be true about who I was here to serve and what my niche was. And I realized that in order to hold maybe not quite a 10x price point, but a higher 10x price point, and to deliver that much more value, I had to kind of deconstruct everything that I was doing in terms of clarity calls, right, onboarding, and how to talk to people to position something that is like a life-changing, I call it the ayahuasca level sabbatical, right? That deep initiation, that is my highest tier destiny offer, where people who might go for an ayahuasca retreat, they want a deep, deep, deep level of rebirth that clears out all the core wounds, all of the deepest trauma, and helps them rebirth into their most fulfilling timeline. But in order to do that, I also had to start getting good at sales, because if you don't know sales, of course, you can't, ask for, say, 5K or 10K or 8K or whatever your price point is. It's simply not going to work. Now, I learned from many failures, and I learned through trial and error. And I hopped on a lot of sales calls with leads that I generated. And what I realized was the more that I was trying to replicate other coaches' ways of doing things, or to lean in when they had the objections, the more I felt freaking awful and pushy and mean. But at the same time, for the times where I bowed down, I was like, okay, yeah, no problem. You're not interested. Okay, no worries. Price objection. Okay, bye. I just let everyone go. The more I also felt sad after calls, because I realized, that was a limiting belief. And I actually could have helped them if I asked permission to maybe illuminate that it was just a fear or a limiting belief, without bulldozing, but just reflecting a new perspective. And so this is the sweet spot. This is what I figured out allows you to share stuff in a way that actually talks about your own character arc, right? So we all talk about this hero's journey, this heroes of becoming, and how you go through this massive transformation, the death and the rebirth, the ego death, right? And all these things to help people and share your medicine to those that need it. But if you are somebody that is a conscious entrepreneur, a heart-led leader, you're not likely in it just for the money. Sure, we want to take our families on vacations and have a great home and save for retirement. We have financial incentives for sure, but that's not the driver, right? We're not just here to close the deals. We're not just here to onboard the people. We're actually here to freaking serve. And what I realized is people don't need to be convinced. They don't need to be dragged into something. They don't need to be, chased or persuaded. They actually need to be empowered to make their own decision, to trust in their own timing, to follow and get the key codes they need to make their own self-led choice, whether it's a fuck yes or a fuck no. But in order to do that, I need to help them through the resistance part, the unconscious fears part, the sabotaging parts, and then from there detach and simply allow them to either leap or to say it's not for me or it's not my time. And that's something that we as heart-led leaders, we do not want to control. We're not here to save anyone. We're not here to rescue anyone, but we are here to inspire a self-motivated hell yes if they are ready to move. So sales isn't about persuasion. It's actually about remembering. It's about creating a new aha moment and epiphany. And I know for some of you guys, you may have joined coaching programs that freaking changed your life. And it's likely that you joined those programs because you showed up on a masterclass or a call or a free circle or some sort of teaser, and you had a lot of illusions shatter, and you realized, oh my gosh, there's so much more to this, right? There are many talented practitioners that host these masterclasses, and that in itself becomes like an activation of consciousness. So this is about remembering the original dream, demonstrating that you are a safe, a credible, a trustworthy person to help them freaking hold it. And also to show how you went through something similar that they're dealing with now, so that they can say, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I need. Storytelling is an ancient technology. This is the way that we have preserved history, right? We have had a lot of historical ups and downs, right? We have history of libraries being burned, churches getting rid of like ancient, writings and stuff like that, right? There's been a lot of wisdom that has been repressed, but the one thing that no government, no system, no church, no ministry can control or get rid of is the power of storytelling. And this is the reason that folks, I'm a German, right? So in German culture, we tell children these like German fairy tales. And I will say that some of them are a little bit harsh. I think Germans have a more of like a fear-based mythology, right? So they prevent their children from doing dumb things, right? Or risky things by telling stories where kids might have gotten eaten by a witch or fallen into like an oven. And that's harsh. But in an inspired way, we use stories all the time to transfer and activate wisdom, to remember stuff, and to also sort of pass on. It's like the built-in micro SD card that speaks directly to your subconscious, that speaks directly to your generations ahead, that passes on cultures, traditions, right? Beliefs. And it's not even just about the story itself, it's about the total remembrance of what that does. So storytelling and story selling speaks to the exact part of the brain that we need to make sure is in a safe space to, again, discern if they are ready to make an investment or to go deeper or to make a conscious choice to quantum leap their life. Now, according to neuroscience, there are a couple different parts of the brain that, are involved in consumer psychology, right? In sales decision making. And if you read some of the research by people like Brian Tracy, right, he has the psychology of selling and some of those data-backed, science-backed reports, you see that people actually don't buy from logic, they buy from emotion. They buy because there's a spark of a potential and the product, the service, the solution activates something that they want to have more of, right? It either helps them out of a pain point or it inspires the change that they want to see. It invokes nostalgia. Nostalgia is actually scientifically proven to be the number one selling feature. So if you had an ad that was about joy, you had an ad about fear, you had an ad about stress, right? All of these different sort of emotions, nostalgia is the number one selling factor. And why this happens is we want to make purchases to either increase our status, right? To belong, to be liked, to create a better life than we have now, or to see some sort of improvement. Either it's escaping a pain point or dialing something in that we would love more of. But these are emotional decisions. There's not a single person that is like, I booked a vacation because, I logic this. You're doing this because you want the memories. You want to dress up. You want the fun, flirty, sexy, romance with your partner. You want to have childhood core memories with your little kiddos, right? Or you just want a freaking getaway for yourself. You're not buying because of logic. You're buying because of emotion. But the thing is, after we have purchased and committed through emotion, we then justify with logic. The math needs to math. We need to validate it. We need to explain it. And it also needs to make sense to the logic part of our brain, or else we will have buyer's regret and remorse, which we, of course, don't want to do. We want to enforce that they're making the best investments in themselves because we all know that you're the right person for that. So storytelling bypasses resistance. As soon as you get into a story, their guards drop down. If I were to start this call and I said, hello, my name is Melissa, and I'm going to give you 3 reasons why sales is the greatest thing ever, you'd be like, peace out, like snooze alert, right? Now, if I start this, and I recently gave a talk actually on Majid's expert speaker, he had like a, I don't want to say mastermind, but it was a speaker, like a graduation, and we were all invited to give a talk on stage. And I was trying to figure out the right way to start my talk. And my talk was all about the power of intuition, how intuition actually led to like a quantum leap in my finances time and time and time again. And what I was trying to figure out is how can I, get people's attention. And I did some research and I looked at like the TED Talks and the recommendations from speakers, and they were like, start with a question, or start with 3 facts, or start with, I don't know, something to like, a prop. And I'm like, that's so corny. I don't want to do this. So I was like, what would my heart say? And I just got this vision of this time that I was sitting in my family lawyer's office. This is many years ago. And I remember it was like such a thundery, stormy day and everything was crashing down. Like I barely had any money to myself. I was going through a high conflict divorce. And then that's when it started happening and the things started dropping in, the codes. And I was like, oh my God, that's it. Because that gives you the frame of my hero's journey, right? Starting as this disempowered mom going through this high conflict thing that she didn't want to be in and losing all her money in her house and insanity and all these things and building herself up from the ground up. So through this momentum, we're able to actually get people interested because we're not here to pitch, persuade, or do like this monologue of like reasons. We're here to actually get them invested. And it's the same way that a movie captivates you, or the same way that, you probably have loved ones cherished memories with, say, your grandma or your grandpa, where they sit you on their lap and they're talking about family stories and you're just so drawn in because it has this sort of hypnotic thing, not from a manipulative space, but from an interest captivating space. And in today's technology and in our consumer addictions and social media and instant gratification, people do not have attention for more than like 2 seconds at a time. Like, it's been proven. Even on people who are producing feature films, I forget how many seconds specifically, but nowadays they actually have to splice each scene in the cinema, in the movies, every like 2 seconds or 3 seconds, because anything longer than this much of a frame, we lose interest. It's insane. So this is a way to keep people engaged, and this is a way to also make it enjoyable, because nobody wants to be sold to. We want it to be inviting, and we want people to naturally work with us. No one's going to say yes on a sales call unless they want to feel like forced or like captured, but unless they actually feel a draw, right? So this allows us to actually be magnetic, because we're not here to do something to you. We're here to like share and just show up. So it makes people say, oh my God, you're in my head. I need this. Why? Because your story is refracting their own potential, speaking to what they're going through, which is likely on some level a lonely journey. And if you're the right person to help them with, this shows them the living frickin' proof that you're the person to go to for that. All right, so let's talk about some of the common objections, right? We've all heard that. And if you're dialing in, you can also tap it into the chat, right? I know for a lot of us, the objections that we commonly see are, I can't afford it, right? Now's not the right timing. I'm already invested in something. I've got too much to go on, or I need to speak to my spouse. The other one is I've tried and that didn't work for me. So likely they've maybe had the wrong fit, the wrong program, right? They've made the wrong investment and they didn't get the results that they were looking for. But what's underneath this is it's really not about the money. It's not about the timing. It's not about needing spouse's permission. The real objection, and this is where your people are looking to you for inspired leadership. No one's asking for you to bulldoze their thing and lean in and say, are you sure you can't afford it? Why don't you take out another credit card and blah, 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 right? Like, it's not about that. It's about, is this an investment that is going to actually change my life this time? Or is this going to set me up for the same failure loop where I feel like I'm the problem after trying all the things, right? The spouse thing, it's not about the spouse. It's about, am I going to let my family down? Is this really going to work for me? And am I going to be able to pull it off this time? And that's where they need your leadership, right? They don't need this whole like high pressure. Have you guys ever seen some of those sales coaches? I watch it sometimes, especially when I was learning sales. I was watching these things about high pressure sales coaches and how they handle objections. And they do these like role plays, right? And some of them are good. Some of them are a little bit distasteful where they're like, oh, you need to speak to your spouse. Well, why don't you call them up right now? It's just like, how desperate do you have to be? And how slimy is that? It's not an empowered way. And I will also add this, even if you were to get the sale, is that really the kind of client that you want, where you had to persuade and bulldoze them to be in that program? Or do you want self-led leaders who can make a leap of faith, who are ready to go, ready to invest in themselves, and then also show up and do the work, right, to make its full potential? And so if you do want people who are self-empowered, sovereign, self-led, ready to invest, and ready to like roll up their sleeves and do the work, then those old tactics are simply not going to be helpful. So why the objections are so important is because we will want to consider our ideal clients, who we're speaking to, whether you're going on a virtual stage, a podcast, a summit, right? So this storytelling, again, this can be for webinars, this can be for YouTube videos, this can be for podcasts, this can be go live on Facebook. This can be for a TED Talk, a keynote speech, whatever it is, the framework is the same. But as you're figuring out what you want to talk about and your story of becoming, you're going to want to take a second to think about, okay, the people who I'd love to work with, to say, by the way, if this resonated with you, here's a free gift to join my list, or hop on a call, like, let's chat. They may have these objections, right? It's human. Even as somebody who's invested in themselves over and over, we still have some objections to just, work through and establish trust on. So you'll want to take those and decide what they might be saying to themselves based on what you're offering. And for that, you're going to actually want to weave that into your story. You're going to want to weave that into your story as one of two things. One of two things is, after giving your talk and sharing your framework and what you're here to do through this masterclass, right? You're taking your ideal client, you're figuring out, okay, what's the number one thing that they're struggling with? Okay, that's their pain point. So this is going to be flipped into how-to content. So say their pain point is how to get leads in their business. And they don't have enough leads. So their solution is going to be how to generate more leads naturally, right? And then what you're going to want to say is, okay, here's the steps that I'm going to talk about how to do this, but here's also where they might go wrong. So they might have objections. I could just ChatGPT it. Okay, well, that didn't work for me. I'm afraid to spend on Facebook ads, blah, 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 blah. And you'll weave these in and you'll talk about your framework and you'll say, it's funny because I've seen so many talented people and they had so much potential and they were on the cusp of these massive breakthroughs. And what I'm going to do with your permission, and always ask permission when you're about to call them out, shatter a false belief, because it allows them to drop their guard. And it's the same way that like asking for consent is so sexy if you're, dating, right? And you're in relationships. Because even if it's a yes, the fact that you're asking makes it a yes, right? So with this, what you will do is you'll ask permission to disclose and you'll say, here are some of the things that you need to know ahead of time. Here's where I've seen people go wrong. People might think that they could just DIY it or just step on the freebie train, blah, blah, blah. People might think that they have too much going on and how to fix it is actually, it's a totally false belief. Here's the secret to actually make sure you avoid that trap, right? People want to be set up for success. And then you're dismantling these objections in real time. And they're so freaking thankful because you just gave them years of insight that they might have went down all the wrong rabbit holes, right? Made all the wrong choices. The same way that if I was going somewhere that I've never been, let's say I'm going to Egypt, right? I could go self-led to the pyramids and, I might get it right or wrong, but I'd much prefer to have a trusted guide that can say, hey, avoid the alligators here, right? Or here's a shortcut. You actually don't need to take that highway. There's lots of traffic jams. Here's the fastest way to go. And so they will be grateful because you're not dismantling objections. You're not bulldozing boundaries. You're setting them up for success by saying, by the way, here are things that I've seen people, they took this and they ran with it and then they forgot about this. So you give that just for the sake of giving, right? What if I invest and let my family down? What if I purchase this and I don't have enough time to implement it? Yes, this is so common. I've seen this too. And the way that you'll want to make sure you have time is to actually pencil that into your calendar because you need to make time for the things that create more time. Because once you've got some income, then you can start paying people to buy back your time, whatever the solution to the objection is, or an example, right? The other way that you can do this is actually through what we call the Epiphany Bridge. And this is something this is not my work. This is something that I learned from Russell Brunson in the Selling Online Challenge. It's epic. Is what he talked about is his own story of let's talk about MLM, right? So MLM, has a very, you either love it or you either hate it. And it rubs people the wrong way, right? Because again, there's that sort of imprinting that it's like a facade, right? It's a get rich quick scheme. It ruins families. And so I'm not saying we're selling MLM here, but in the event that I was selling something that had like a lot of, caution signs, red flags up, I would go around the signs like, I have witnessed firsthand people going through the objections, right? So I've witnessed firsthand all these news articles that talk about MLMs. And I actually saw my cousin do that and he lost everything. Of course, you're not just making up stories. You're going to use real examples. I'm making this up for the purpose of it. But you'll say, I've witnessed that and I saw this news article about this one that turned out to be a total pyramid scheme. And that's devastating, right? And I was just like you. I had that same guard up. That's what I thought. And then what you're going to say is, what caused you to change that belief? Okay, so this was me too. I was very wary of it. And I said I would never do it. And anyway, I was having lunch with my cousin. And then my cousin was sharing something that he got in on that was this new kind of thing. But it was so different. He was really making money. He was helping a lot of people. And I couldn't believe it. But when he told me it was an MLM, I said, yeah, no, that's not for me, thinking it was the same thing. And he actually demonstrated how blank, 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 blank wasn't, right? Same thing for say coaching packages, right? So yeah, I thought the exact same thing. This is exactly why I was in the same spot as you, or why I thought I could never do it. I never thought I'd be able to set boundaries. I never thought that I would be able to sell a 5K masterclass from stage, right? This was me. I was just like you. So then they see, okay, relatable, self-identification triggers. Okay, they're like me, but a few steps ahead. And then they start to have a new enlightenment. Then you say, now, what happened to get you to change that? Well, it wasn't until this one thing happened in this really interesting day. Then all of a sudden I found this random idea and I decided to test it off, and it just took off like wildflowers. And I shared it and they were having the same success too. So now they're saying, okay, this belief that I had, this rigid belief, this fixed belief that I'm bad at selling, that MLM's evil, that whatever it is, I can't leave my 9 to 5, whatever their objection is, that's a fixed belief. Now they're being like, oh, wait a second, it's malleable, it's changeable, there's new perspectives. Actually, that aligns, and we're not here to control the outcome. In their own intuition, in their own sort of resonance of what, feels right for them, and through the power of your actual stories, right? So again, just remembering that these are all examples, they will be able to reconsider those very, very rigid fixed beliefs. Okay, so even though I bought and sold the idea that I can't invest in myself while I still have debt, this investment, blah, 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 right? Or I can't do this while I have kids. Oh, but she did that with kids, and the kids actually enjoyed her mom starting a business. So what if actually this could be good for my kids to learn while I'm starting a business from home? You see, it starts to get them to think differently through real life examples. So the story selling, the subconscious story selling, is first of all starting with your why. What are you helping people through? What is their pain point? What are they struggling with? And here's what I love is one of the things I learned from James Wedmore. He has like the Business by Design, Sales Pitch by Design. He has a lot of really good stuff. Is if you imagine filming a day in their life, what is their like, when you watch an infomercial and they have like the before and after, and the before is like the black and white, like, wah, wah, wah. Like it's like the person like, struggling. So for me, for example, when I was launching my Freedom Frequency program, this is like the abundance accelerator for spiritual business owners who want to increase their prices and also go from occasional clients to fully booked and consistent revenue with premium offers. I was thinking about the people who might still be at a 9 to 5 and how they might not have a lot of time, but they want so much more out of life and they're ready to make the leap. They just need to make sure it's safe for their families. So I was like picturing a video camera going through, what are they saying at the office? The boss is like slamming more papers and right? And she's like, oh my gosh, I'm having like small talk at the water cooler in the office kitchen with like Kathy from accounting, and everyone's just mimicking all this like office small talk, and she's having this weird thing of, I'm like the only woke one or the only conscious one here. Like, why doesn't anyone else see that we're disposable? Why doesn't anyone else want more out of life, right? And I'm picturing what would happen as if it was a documentary and speaking that in real time. Of course, you can do bullet points and put a slide deck together. But a lot of the times just use that video lens as the best way to speak to them, because then it goes, oh my God, they freaking get me. Or, oh my God, I can't believe anybody else is going through the same thing, because they might not talk about this a lot. This might be a lot of stuff that they're struggling with internally, or what are they thinking about when they lie in bed at night? What's on their heart, right? Then what we're going to do is we're going to use those objections that we identified. Can't invest in themselves, too much time, not enough, tried and failed. I'm not a good marketer. I can't sell. And you shift the awakening your inside. Yeah, I sucked at sales too. I genuinely sucked at sales too. And for months I spent time. I even remember I was still working at my 9 to 5, and I was asking my boss, like, hey, could you maybe give me some opportunities to like go onto the sales team? I want to try getting better at this. And I didn't unfortunately actually get an opportunity to do so, but I was trying to find all the ways to like get micro sprints of learnings through sales. And it wasn't until I started recording all my sales calls and reviewing them at where it went awkward, where I dropped off, where I dropped the ball, where I started stuttering when I named my price. And each time I devoted myself to getting 1% better. I uploaded the transcript of my sales calls and put it into ChatGPT, and I said, roast me, give me all the feedback of why this could have been better, right? And I used that, and whatever I sucked at on this last calls, I made I never say vows. I made a commitment to get 10% better on the next call with the specific weak points, so I could do better and better and better, and all of a sudden, boom, right? So then you're speaking to the new truth and transformation. They're seeing themselves in you. They are seeing that, yeah, they believe they can't pull it off because they failed, because it was hard, because it was complicated. But you found a new paradigm way. You found the secret sauce. You found this one crazy hack, or you found the secret thing that changed everything, because it did for you, and because you're the living proof, and because you're genuinely here to offer this in your transformational program or offer or service. Now they can see, oh, I'm not always going to be stuck here. I'm not doomed and gloomed to suck at marketing. I'm not doomed and gloomed to suck at sales. Oh my gosh, actually, with this recipe, this feels really good. And then all you need to do is lock it in with how do they need to believe it? They need to believe it in, I think it was 3 ways. So 1, they need to believe that they are the kind of person that can do it. So even, let's say, we'll use a Russell Brunson one. He sells funnels, right? Click funnels. So people have tried to set up a funnel. They get frazzled by the technology. It's glitching. They don't know how to make the button pop up right. And they just spiral out, right? So his thing is, I sucked at funnels too, right? But I created this for people who suck at funnels. And through this, I actually made my first funnel that makes me $17,000 a day. And they start seeing, oh, well, I don't have to suck at funnels forever. Maybe with this person's help, I could actually get good. Maybe this time I could actually succeed. And then what we have to do is we have to sell the vehicle, right? The product, the service, and make them believe in that, right? So they may have objections about themselves. I'm just not a good marketer. I'm just not good at sales. I'm just not able to raise my price. I just don't know how to speak to people. These are like identity things that we need to bust through our story. And then we need to sell the vehicle. Yeah, for sure. Sales calls suck, right? I hate them too. I'm relating to right now on this call because I hated sales pitches. I hated sales calls. But now there's a new way of doing it, a new vehicle. So now it's not about me. Now it's actually about this formula, right? The story selling formula, where it feels good, not just for you, but actually for your buyers. It actually feels good for people on your masterclass. It actually allows you to serve better. And now we have the simple framework that literally my 9-year-old daughter could implement. Like, it's so freaking simple. And it's not hard to figure out, right? This is a very simple, like, we can whip this together in 20 minutes if we wanted to. So now they're not just seeing, okay, it's possible for me, and this is actually an easier way. And now they're able to get the desired outcome because it's no longer about them being the failure or them trying everything and it not working for them because they suck. Now it's also not about the thing that doesn't feel good because they've learned it the wrong way or if they've been taught the wrong way or it's a fragmented or outdated business model. Now they have both ingredients they need to succeed. So your origin moment is one of the things I actually love doing. And in my, just hint, in my Freedom Frequency, I just dropped a freaking amazing bonus. It is $1 million story selling and your $1 million speech bonus framework. So you can actually go into ChatGPT and plug in your North Node, right? Your birth chart, use your human design, your astrology, your numerology. Take a look at the Chiron, take a look at the Saturn, right? Saturn's all about lessons. Chiron's all about your wounding, right? And then the Mercury may inspire also like what your message is. I used to do this on like business human design readings. So if you had a TED talk, what does your birth chart say about what you're here to share through your voice, through your talk, through your speech? And then what you can share is who you were so they can see their identity, right? Before, let's use somebody who's going into couples coaching or boundaries coaching, right? Before this, I was a pushover, I was a fawn, I was a people pleaser. And they're seeing, oh, okay, yeah. Well, wait, they're so powerful. I feel like I was them before. So maybe they have that thing that I need, right? What keep you stuck? You validate that the system's broken. You validate that, whatever the old paradigm is, that it sucks, it's flawed, and you poke holes into it because they're likely in agreement that they need something else. And then you illuminate what finally changed the game forever, and you give them an opportunity to open up a new trajectory, a new potential that did not exist before. And that's where the tears happen, and that's where the goosebumps happen, and that's where you activate a dormant part of their potential simply through your voice, simply through their story. And whether or not they decide to work with you, you just shifted a massive amount of awakening. But what I will also say is at least 99% of people are going to want to work with you because this gives them the enlightenment, epiphany, that unlocks their next level, their glass ceiling, the thing where they were capped. They could not go further than this. You just shattered the whole ceiling and opened up an entire new reality of possibilities for them. So Then what you'll want to do is think about either a lead magnet or an opportunity for them to go deeper with you, right? So I highly recommend when you're showing up on virtual summits, podcasts, whether you're going live, whether you're offering value or talking to people in any way, even if you're showing up to give a talk to a high school, offer and think about a free gift. So the best way to reverse engineer is the free gift is based on the story that you told them today that gives them the illumination, that busts the ceiling of all their previous limitations and shows them, holy shit, I can actually step into this now. What would they need to implement what you taught them today? So that could look like a workbook, an audio, a meditation, right? And also think about who your ideal clients are. For me, my lead magnets are very different for people in freedom frequency compared to destiny coaching. Destiny coaching is for very highly successful, very busy, affluent clients, right? People who have a great paying job, but they're swamped and they want something fulfilling without the loss of their, their affluence, their income level, their lifestyle. These people do not have time for a 2.5-hour masterclass. They're simply, even if I had the best masterclass, they probably wouldn't attend because they're sought after and high in demand, right? So think about what is the form or the consumption that will get them saying yes, and what would they love to receive? Do they need a journal? Do they need a workbook, audio? You can also do something as simple as a discovery call here, right? And instead of calling it a clarity call or a discovery call or a consultation, like snooze, right? Make it results driven, make it solution driven. And what is one piece of value that you could offer every single person that hops on that call, whether they work with you or not, so that they know they're showing up, they're getting something amazing. And either way, they feel really good about you. So even if they say it's not a right now for me, you are positioned as 10 out of 10, reputable, trustworthy, likable, lovable, grateful, because you help them. So they may sit on the fence, right? Even if they were yeah, you know what, this sounds great, but maybe in the future, don't be surprised when those people come back when it's their own soul aligned right time, because you gifted, you had that law of reciprocity, and you actually added value by solving. I'll give you a couple of examples of things that I've done in the past for previous talks. So when I'm on a summit and stuff, I would offer a blockbuster call for finances, right? So if I'm giving a talk about abundance and money mindset and healing wealth wounds and up-leveling your income by clearing the subconscious blocks, people would be like, holy shit, yeah, I didn't know. That's why I kept being capped at my income. It wasn't because I was doing it wrong. It's because my subconscious has 95% of my, reality according to what I believe. Then they'd be like, well, fuck, they'd be like, okay, excuse me. They'd be like, oh, damn, well, what is blocking me? I wonder what that is. And as somebody who's intuitive psychic, I can pop into someone's field with permission and say, your block is this. Oh, okay. So I said, hop on a 15 call. I will show you what your number one block is. I will tell you, oh, it's a family line block. I'm picking this up. Oh, your block is that you have a receiving problem. Did something happen where you stopped your receiving? Oh, your block is that you can't stop working and your next level actually comes from more ease, more fun, more play, and slowing down. So then I'm solving their point specific to them. So that makes me credible, and they're grateful because they just had another illumination. And then in the call, which I'll go into, which is tomorrow, energetic yes method. This is how to have magnetic, fun, really, really enjoyable consultations, and to close them without a pitch. So what was I going to say about that? I just lost my train of thought. So yeah, stay tuned for energetic yes method if you actually want the secret recipe on how to have those consultations, those discovery calls after you do your story and get people saying yes to you. But what I said in those was essentially, okay, now that we've illuminated your number one block, tell me about your goals, tell me about where you're going, and is this something you want help with? What would change for you if that didn't exist? What would your life be like? And I'll leave it at that because the rest is for tomorrow. I could go on for hours, but this way, then you're just asking questions, and they end up being holy crap, this person just shattered all my ceilings, gave me the possibility of what I can see, and can bring me there fast. It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. So you don't need a script when your story is doing the selling. And speaking from the heart is the fastest way. So this is a recap of things that are tomorrow. But for today, I really enjoyed doing this. I'd love to hear from you guys what your biggest takeaway is. And I'm also curious, what are your stories? What is your transformational story? I may choose to do another free training inside Freedom Frequency. to help people actually find ways to get on media. So this is the process that I've used to get featured in Women's Insider Mag, CEOtimes.com. This is the process that I've used to go and speak on stage, which actually generates about 85% or more of my revenue. It's not through ads. It's not through incessant posting. It's not through email marketing, and it's not through funnels. 85% of more of my clients in income have come from giving a free talk, a 20, 15-minute talk on somebody else's stage, sharing this framework, helping people, and then inviting them to go deeper, and it sells itself. There's no ads. You don't need a VA. You don't need a lot of time. All you need to do is find a good couple of talks that have your ideal target audience in them, use this framework, and watch your email list and your calendar be bombarded with people. I was listening to something, and I'll say this to close. I think it was Brandon Lucero. He's like a master at conversion messaging. He was talking about how we have this expert's paradox, right? And when you get really, really good at something and you're an expert at it, you have very advanced knowledge, but the advanced knowledge can't always reach the people who are like in the beginning, the baby version of you. So we're here saying all of these advanced, complicated principles, and they're just like, what? And we need to kind of dumb it down. Not dumb it down because they're not intelligent, but simplify it to meet them in the beginning, to the version of you that didn't know all of these amazing things. And what he was saying is, and this is a really good epiphany, is you have one person who's like, hi, I'm this, buy my course, this is why you should join, blah, 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 right? And then you have the other person where you see somebody walking around and maybe they have a limp, right? Or an ache or a pain, and you see they're hurting, and this person's going from door to door. Hey, do you know what's going on with my leg? Hey, can you take a look? Do you know what's going on? Have you ever had this before? And all these doors are like, nope, can't help you. Nope, can't help you. Never seen it before. And then you have somebody who might be a doctor, right? And they catch them at the park limping around, and they go up to them and say, oh, you've got this, blah, blah, blah. This is the diagnosis, right? This is what that thing is. And then they just go, okay, bye. And now that person who's tried every herbal remedy, every, help forum, every like medical medium and Google, now that person is like, oh my God, the one person who can help me. The doctor just kept moving, but now you bet you that person is running down the street, chasing them, being like, hey, wait, what the heck? You just solved my thing. Can you help me? Can you fix it? Can I pay you? This is how this all works, because you're not selling, you're not pitching, you're activating, you're mirroring, and you're inviting. So yeah, anyway, for those of you that are interested in learning a bit more about freedom frequency, we have the doors open. I wanted to just do this webinar as is. So I'll just drop the link below. It's a 6-week abundance accelerator for people who want to get paid a premium for their gifts, specifically service providers. So if you want consistent clients saying yes to your offers, you can head to nirvana-collective.com, freedom. And there is some more info. So like I mentioned, we've got all of these. We've got all of these. So here, the $1 Million Signature Talk Builder. These are a couple things that I'm getting added this week. I'm not going to do a whole demo today. I just wanted to show up and deliver. But if you're interested in learning more, we do start August 15th. And right now we have some limited time bonuses to help you get paid a premium and to also help pre-sell your offer by selling it before you make it. So had so much fun. Thank you guys so much for being on the call today, and sending you a ton of love.